Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of KSP Resurgence. Last episode, we did our very first interstellar landing, that being on this moon right here. This moon is called Sublime. It's known for its exotic mushroom life that is quite red. Now, we didn't get to see too much of Sublime last episode, so I'm doing a bit of a biome hop. Now, this biome I'm going to is called the Mystical Prairie. It's actually blue, which is a quite stark contrast compared to the rest of the planet, except for the oceans, of course. Now, the Mystical Prairie has some very exotic life. So, if you think the mushrooms of Sublime aren't exotic enough for you, this biome might just be the perfect place. Now, getting there is very easy thanks to this space plane I've designed. I've called it the Helion. It's powered by two atomic jet engines from OPT spaceplane, as well as a fusion engine from an Impulse Party. It's not really a fusion engine, actually, the one from Impulse Party. It just requires a lot of electric charge, which thankfully Stirling Systems fuel cells are really good at. So it's kind of false advertising, but it gets the job done with 10,000 meters per second of delta V to spare once in orbit. What's better is that the space plane uses liquid hydrogen, so I can refuel it as much as I want for my mothership. Now, we come down for a really bumpy landing here. I'm surprised that nothing broke. Maybe I somehow left some cheats on. I don't think I did. So, we've come for quite a nice landing in a beautiful spot. Now it's time to go EVA and explore the Mystical Prairie and all of its blue glory. If you're wondering what I used to recolor this space plane, I've used Textures Unlimited Recolor Depot. It's a great mod, and my main gripe with it is that it's not really compatible with a lot of other mods. So you're going to have to find some configs for whatever mods you're planning on using. But it still looks great. You can change the reflectiveness of parts and change your colors. It's a great mod. Now anyway, here we are doing some EVA science, like we're playing golf here. I'm also going to get a bunch of other Kerbals on EVA to, of course, do the obligatory flag planting. I think I already planted a flag on Sublime in my previous episode, but I want to do it again just because I might want to mark this spot out for any potential colonies. Now, Sublime does have quite a few resources available, but it's lacking the critical resource, that being helium-3. This is probably because it has an atmosphere, and therefore it doesn't really have as much helium-3. If anything, I'm just going to have a cool scientific colony here with a laboratory, just to, so the Kerbals can research all the exotic life here. Anyway, of course I have to take a bunch of screenshots, just because, this Celestial Harmony planet pack, it looks beautiful. I really like taking screenshots. Of course, I also like taking videos, which is why I'm recording this right now. Anyway, a little bit cool, bit of a free IVA moment whenever I re-enter the space plane. Now, we've done everything I wanted to do on this moon, so now it's time to get the Kerbals back inside and just take off and return to space. Because this is a moon of Farewell, the gas giant. It's actually the first interstellar gas giant I'm exploring in this series. So, we've done everything we wanted to do, now it's time to take off. Now, these jet engines on the side are actually not enough to propel the craft. They rely on the central fusion engine, which actually runs surprisingly well in the atmosphere. Now, Farewell has 4 moons, so we've landed on 1 so far. I plan to land on an additional 2 moons in this episode. And they're going to be pretty interesting, I must say. Now, this space plane is definitely has no issues returning us into orbit. Got some cool effects from Firefly. I did fix the bugged configs, I believe, so they should be looking just fine from now on. Eventually, the jet engines on the side cannot provide enough thrust to continue pushing the craft because there's no air, so I have to turn them off. They do have a closed cycle mode, but it's extremely inefficient and chugs tons of hydrogen. If you run it for too long, you'll just completely run out of fuel, and it's just not good unless you have a bunch of fuel. Anyway, we were able to reach orbit without a hitch. Though I did have to burn just a little bit extra because I was pretty close to falling back into the atmosphere. Now, because the Mystical Prairie wasn't on an equatorial location, we do have to do a pretty big inclination change just to match the orbits of the mothership. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now, this fusion engine actually does have some waterfall configs, but I haven't installed them. I've installed them after I was recording this segment, so unfortunately we won't be seeing any of those cool waterfall effects for a couple of episodes. Now, I did skip most of the rendezvous and all that stuff just because I've already done plenty of rendezvous in this series, and I feel like adding a few more will be somewhat redundant. Anyway, trying to transfer all the science because if we come here, we need to get all that science because not doing so will be somewhat of a waste of time. Anyway, this is Excalibur. It's my super cool interstellar vehicle capable of reaching the Chaos system, which is the star that I'm currently orbiting around, in only 2 years. And I do believe that is with some calendar changes, just because I believe Celestial Harmony changes the calendar so that it's 24-hour days instead of the standard 6-hour Kerbal days. I think it was 12 hours. I think it was 24 hours actually. So yeah, it is very different from the. If it were a Kerbal calendar, it'd probably be more like 8 years or 4 years, but it really isn't that long. And it does have plenty of fuel to spare. I'm sure it can do the return journey at the same speed. Anyway, farewells that huge bluish gas giant in the background. So it's one of the better gas giants in the... Well, Celestial Harmony has a bunch of gas giants, and I believe they all look good. Now, this next body we're landing on is called Finn, which has an oddly small sphere of influence for some reason. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if it's intentional. But the thing here is known for its volcanoes. It's clustered with quite a few of them. And despite being having no atmosphere and being a barren vacuum world, these volcanoes are actually churning out lots of smoke and lots of clouds, which are actually from the Volumetric Clouds mod. So it's pretty interesting. Get to see some of those cool volcanoes in a minute, but first I actually gotta get this into an orbit. Yeah, I'm coming in on a polar trajectory just because I actually want to get a survey scan of this moon. Keep saying planet even though I mean moon. I want to do a survey scan of like a whole lot of bodies in this mission just because if I want to come and colonize one of these for an interstellar colony, I'd like to know where I want to colonize. There are a lot of resources I'm looking for, specifically water, hydrates, helium-3 ore, metal ore, of course, and also uraninite, just because I do want some enriched uranium. And as we come down to Finn's orbit, we do see some smoke plumes rising out of the volcanoes. And Finn does have a pretty nice resource distribution, as we can see. Pretty cool stuff. Now, I've heard about some other mods that are used to, like, replace the stock orbital scan things. Like, there's this mod called ScanStat that I would like to try for a future playthrough. Basically, it has you, like, have to scan the planet with, like, a bunch of different tools, or, like, ore maps, biome maps, and, like, have to do, like, high-res imagery. It seems like a cool mod, but I've never tried it before. You know, I would really like to try making another series that will run in parallel with Resurgence, but I'm not really sure how that's going to work. I mean, there are a lot of different planet packs I'd love to try making series about. Like, I mean, I'd love to do a KSS2 playthrough with, like, Promised Worlds and a bunch of mods, like, the mod pack to end them all. I'm afraid that I'm going to run out of RAM, but I did some asking around, and it turns out 32 gigabytes is enough to do all that. I want to wait until KSS2 gets an update, because my main dilemma with KSS2 is that it's not a system replacer, and I really do not want to do a series revolving around the stock system just because everyone's seen the stock system out. I want to do something unique. But KSS2 is actually having a stock system revamp, at least for the gas giants. It's revamping Jewel as long as giving it, I think it also is supposed to give it new moons and add a bunch of new gas giants as well. Which I would like to have that released before I do a playthrough of KSS2. Well, of course I could do a home replacer and end up starting on one of the planets of KSS2. But I'm not really sure I'm going to do that. I'd rather wait until the stock revamp comes out, just so I can get the full experience and have all that stuff to show my future videos. It's just kind of a whole dilemma I have. Should probably get back to the mission at hand here. Here we are at Finn, right next to this really cool volcano. I really like the coloring of Finn. Kind of reminds me of Io in the real solar system, which is one of Jupiter's moons, also known for having a lot of volcanoes. Probably because of its tidal force, all the moons and Jupiter itself like tugging on the moon and causing it to crack. Considering how many moons Farewell has and how close Finn is to Farewell, that might be a similar cause for the volcanoes. I do want to do a little bit of a hop just to get a little closer to the volcano and get a nice view, but I have to goof around a whole lot with this lander. But eventually I do end up getting a pretty decent landing, though it did take me quite a few attempts. Here we are, Finn and all of its, one of Finn's volcanoes. Now, I did want to time warp a bit just so I could see the gas giant Farewell kind of rise above the horizon more, but it turns out Finn is tightly locked. So that little slither of Farewell is all we'll be getting in this scenic view. Now, of course, I do have to collect all the science because that's what we're here for. We're here for science, we're here for scenic views also, and just because. But science is the main reason why we are here. Of course, since it's a new planet, I had to get all the Kerbals out on EVA just so I can take a screenshot and plant a flag. It's kind of a tradition on this channel to get all the Kerbals on EVA and plant a flag. I mean, planting a flag is like everyone's tradition in Kerbal Space Program because like that's the one thing you have to do when you land somewhere new. I'm really proud with how this lander was constructed. It's using some lithium-powered engines from a near-future propulsion. A bunch of other near-future parts. Now, of course, I gotta plant the flag and admire the volcano. You know, I wonder if sacrificing Kerbals in this volcano will make Celestial Harmony and Cosmic Serenity updates come out sooner. It's really cool how these volcanoes have volumetric clouds effects, considering this is a vacuum world, and like, you think it's kind of a de facto rule that planets must have atmospheres in order to have volumetric clouds, but this moon is a very clear exception and actually does it quite well. Volumetric clouds can also be used to do a bunch of other cool effects, like having a gas, like an ice leak out of a ice planet, ice moon, like Europa kind of. So volumetric clouds can be used outside of atmospheric worlds, which is really cool how planet modders can get creative with that kind of stuff. Now, unfortunately, we will be doing a nighttime launch, but you can't see the faint glow of the volcano. I was a little afraid that the hot lava would vaporize this lander when we flew over it, but thankfully it's a vacuum of space, and things are actually always cold in the vacuum of space. Once you get too close to the parent star, then maybe not so much. Anyway, this lander is made to be reused a lot of times. It's meant to do a lot of landings, especially on some high gravity places. Like this can do a Tyler landing without breaking a sweat. And just for more fuel, I actually did put a huge lithium tank on Excalibur, my interstellar mothership, just so I can refuel this thing and use it for a lot of times over and over, just to make the most use out of this lander. Just because there are a whole lot of vacuum and very thin atmosphere bodies in this system, so I won't be able to use this space plane too much. Because if you try landing a space plane on a place with a very thin atmosphere or vacuum, you cannot fly it. You cannot fly in a vacuum. I mean, there are some places with atmospheres, but most of them are too thin to fly. I mean, I could try, but I'm probably gonna get into a crash or something. Anyway, gotta do some rendezvous just to make sure our Kerbals get peacefully reunited with the other guys back on the Excalibur. I really do like how Waterfall changes the effects on the lithium engines. I really like the color, considering that's what a lithium. That's the light color lithium produces when its electrons are excited. It's pretty cool how every element glows a different color when you excite the electrons and its atoms. It's pretty cool. Like hydrogen burns like a purplish color. It's not, you also need to take those colors into account if you're producing Firefly configs for planets. So, it's pretty cool stuff, I must say. Anyway, time to do the docking. Nothing really interesting here. I can never think of anything to talk about when I'm doing these rendezvous. I can't talk about those glowing radiators on Excalibur. They're from the Sterling Radiators mod. Specifically the exotic radiators. Really odd design, they actually let the coolant leak outside so they can radiate more, while most typical radiators would actually try to keep the coolant inside. This one does exactly the opposite. Probably wondering how I got that huge gravity ring. I just took two of the 3.75 meter gravity rings from the Stock-alike Station Expansion Redux, and I just rotated them and clipped them together to get that larger gravity ring, which looks surprisingly well. Fortunately, I can't really do free IVA because I'm not sure how free IVA would work with clipped living spaces. Just a minor inconvenience, I guess. Anyway, I've gotten all the Kerbals on board, gotten all the science logic, so we're done with Finn for now. Now, there is one more landing I'd like to do in this episode. That is to Thak, I believe. Thak is an asteroid moon of Farewell. It's an asteroid. I can't really say too much more. Now, of course, I do have to get to Thak, so that's what I'm going to do right now. First, I have to get an escape trajectory of thing here and not actually end up getting to an orbit around another planet, because Sublime did try to get me into a sphere of influence. So it's really annoying when you're trying to plot maneuver, but there's this one stubborn moon or planet that keeps trying to suck you into its gravity well. It's kind of like how Ike from the stock system, like if you're in high orbit around Dunga, Ike's gonna kidnap your vessel and sling it either into Dunga or on an interplanetary trajectory. It's just super annoying. As fortunately, with Celestial Harmony, it's kind of replaced with Alia, which is Sanctar's moon, which is your homeworld's half moon, half binary twin. Since it's super big, you end up accidentally getting to encounter it and end up in its sphere of influence, which is really annoying. Speaking of spheres of influence, here we are in Thak's sphere of influence. Now we're actually in orbit around it, which is pretty nice. I'm not going to try doing a survey scan of this because I'm not really into colonizing tiny asteroid moons that have very low gravity. I'd rather colonize a more substantial place. Not to mention something that's a little bit more interesting, just because Thak doesn't really have too much, except for this odd visual glitch. Because for some reason, Thak is transparent. You can literally see right through it like it's a piece of glass. Now, I do believe this is caused by parallax, because I think parallax runs off of a level of detail system where the closer you are to something, the better it'll look, but it'll take more resources. I believe the higher level of detail is still transparent and the lower level is fading out. So I believe that's what's causing this visual glitch, because when I do zoom in, it just looks perfectly fine. Thankfully, this glitch is just purely visual and doesn't actually harm the mission. So thankfully we're able to do this without a sweat. Of course, I do have to transfer all the Kerbals, which is really annoying just because whenever I transfer a Kerbal on Excalibur, it takes 2 seconds to transfer the Kerbal just because of how laggy it is. I mean, when I'm flying Excalibur, I mean, it's still very playable. I have a pretty good computer that can run all these parts, but it's just my performance is seriously hampered when compared to doing it with a smaller spacecraft. So, this is why in my next episode, I'm going to try to stay away from Excalibur as much as I can and actually use this lander to its full potential. But I'm not going to spoil anything. I want to keep what I'm going to do next under wraps, kind of. You know, Thak is actually only a little bit interesting on the surface, just because it has some cool colors. You know, what it really reminds me of Demise from the After Kerbin Planet Pack, which is what Eve used to be, but since it's after Kerbin, it's atmosphereless and completely melting. In case you don't know, After Kerbin is basically a planet pack where Kerbal, the parent star of Kerbin, turns into a red giant and destroys everything. So Demise is now just a brown. Eve is turned into a very desolate place. It's called Demise in After Kerbin. It's mostly brown with a few spots of purple, which kind of reminds me of Thak, to be honest. Just because the color palette's similar. Speaking of which, Celestial Harmony is kind of a spiritual successor of a Beyond Home, which is a sequel to After Kerbin, so maybe they're linked in some way. Of course, I do have to write something on the flag. Of course, a plaque, because that's what you're supposed to do when you plant a flag in Kerbal Space Program. I didn't get all the Kerbals out just because it'd be kind of repetitive and I don't really care about taking a screenshot here. I just want to get the mission done and get all my science and go home. Well, I won't be going home for quite a while considering I do want to do a grand tour of the entirety of the Chaos system. I do believe with all the Delta V my vacuum lander and my space plane have, I believe I'll be able to do that relatively easily. Of course, after this gas giant farewell, I have to do a dwarf planet, that being Kloss, and its little asteroid moon Lort. I have to do the Melancholia gas giant system and landing all of its moons. And then after that, I'll have to go to the Moor system, which is a binary system of 2 rocky planets. I think they might be dwarf planets, actually. And along with that, I also will have to land on a Refuse, which is the closest to the Chaos System Berry Center, because the Chaos System is a binary planet. But Refuse is the planet I'm most worried about, just because that close to the star, it's probably gonna make my all my spacecraft overheat and explode, so that's why I avoided it initially and just skipped straight to the farewell system. Anyway, here we are back at Excalibur, and it's time to do a little bit of a docking maneuver. Now, something that really bugs me with Persistent Thrust is that it won't let me time warp when there's 2 persistent time warp enabled vessels in physics range. They also have a shared throttle, so if I do max throttle on the engine, and the other spacecraft in my sphere of influence has an engine enabled, they both go full throttle, which has unfortunately led to some very close calls with Kerbals almost dying in a couple of previous episodes. The only way to get around this is to disable the engines or disable persistent thrust on said engines, which thankfully isn't too hard. You just gotta right-click the part and disable it. Now, another happy, successful docking. I can transfer all the signs, get all the Kerbals back inside, and we can have a happy reunion and go to our next moon. After this, Farewell only has one more moon to explore, that being Escape. Escape is a really odd moon considering it was once colonized. In fact, it actually used to be a mining quarry. I'm actually planning on landing on that quarry next episode. Of course, I do have to grab the science and take that all the way back to the mothership. Maybe I should try getting Kerbalism because their science system is less repetitive, apparently. So next episode we'll be landing on Escape and visiting some other destinations, such as Kloss and Lort. However, unfortunately that will be the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!